BDA locations cannot be accessed by roads, making heavy-duty equipment either impossible, difficult, or undesirable in riparian ecosystems. So one of the greatest advantages of this technique is that BDAs can be installed using only handheld tools. The main three types of post drivers you're likely to encounter are pneumatic or air-driven, hydraulic or fluid-driven, and gas-powered. Our team has done the vast majority of our work using a pneumatic post driver powered by a large air compressor. We've been using a Rhino PD55, which uses a 3/4 inch air hose and requires 42 cubic feet per minute at 90 pounds per square inch, or PSI. This is based on a 50-foot run between the post driver and the compressor. So as that distance increases, both the cubic feet per minute and the PSI need to increase. Normally, we use 100 feet of air hose on this project, and we've been using a compressor that delivers 175 cubic feet per minute at 100 PSI, and this has been working really well. This post driver has a chuck size of 3 7/8 inches, and we've trimmed our post down to 3.5 inches. You can test your post with a piece of PVC pipe of the appropriate diameter to make sure you don't end up standing in the stream on construction day with posts that don't fit the chuck of your driver. We've driven conifer posts at least 8 feet long into the stream bed until they were at least 50% below ground whenever possible. We found that the pneumatic post driver works really well in places where your access is clear enough to tow a large air compressor. In those locations, here are some of the advantages of the pneumatic post pounder. The pounder weighs less than a hydraulic pounder, and therefore it is easier to maneuver. The center of gravity makes the pneumatic hammer easier to place on top of the posts. It's just really well designed in where the weight lies. In 2019, we tried using a hydraulic post pounder that had recently been purchased and provided by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service partners in our team. And even though on paper the hydraulic driver seems to be the most cost efficient, the most powerful, the most flexible means of construction, on the ground we found it to be really cumbersome and difficult to maneuver compared to the pneumatic hammer that we've been using. Especially after being fitted with all the necessary parts, it weighed significantly more than the pneumatic hammer. It was also much longer, and it had awkward ergonomics, and so the center of gravity made it really difficult to lift it and place it on top of a post. At the end of day 1 of construction of that year, the brand new hydraulic post pounder actually failed mechanically, and so we rented the pneumatic hammer that we had been using in previous years, and installation went much more smoothly for our team. Now that was possible because of the ease of access on the site for transporting the large air compressor. That's not always going to be the case. So the two greatest advantages of the hydraulic hammer are its portability and its power. For situations where access is limited and it would not be possible to tow a great big air compressor with a truck or tractor or ATV, you can move a much smaller power pack that runs the hydraulic post driver using something like this electric wheelbarrow. And you can make your way into more difficult to reach places. If the stream bed substrate is more challenging, you also may be better equipped to drive the post to adequate depth, given the additional power of the hydraulic hammer. So your substrate and your access are the two most important factors in deciding whether to use the hydraulic or the pneumatic post pounder. So with either of those two post drivers, what do you need to do this work? You need tall, strong people. Our team functions best with 2 primary post driver operators, both tall and with great upper body strength, and a third helper to move the post, keep a construction record, help with miscellaneous tasks. That third person does not need to be tall and just needs to be strong and agile enough to drag the posts up and down the banks and in the stream. Lastly, we have not used a gas-powered driver, but here are a couple of photos of that option. We're using a gas-powered post driver to install BDAs on California Creek. So this gas-powered driver uses a vibratory mechanism to drive the post instead of direct impact forcing the post down into the ground. So this is the most portable of all three types, but it also has the least amount of driving force, and it often only fits posts that are smaller than 3 inches in diameter. So when considering whether to use a gas-powered driver, you would need to know how challenging the substrate would be to drive into, and whether or not you need a larger diameter post or if a smaller post will do the trick. We're going to cover more about post selection and post driving in segments 8 and 9.